Hey guys, it's me, Gary, Lee Stanley, your sales guy, but also your announcer and also your comedy guy. We've got a, I don't know if it's funny or not, but it's funny to me. It's my life, and I'm going to go ahead and share it. Our comedy routine today is called White Boy Living in the Projects. Okay. Well, listen, guys, when I was a kid, I remember I used to live in the projects, and it's like back in the 70s, it was kind of different. I'm from North Carolina, and I remember when I was a kid, I remember living, my parents, they were going through a divorce. I was like 9 years old, and I thought my whole world had fallen apart. And in kind of reality, it really did. And I remember, we were poor. We had a real nice house before everything. We had everything going great and everything. And then one day, mom says, we're moving, and we moved. It was me and my brother, and we moved out to the projects. And I never saw projects. These particular ones were brand new. They looked like a nice condominiums, apartments, or something. I never seen anything like it because I'd always lived in a house, and it was kind of nice, I thought, at first when I got there. But as I got a little bit, time going there, started in the summertime, we started just trying to meet people in the neighborhood. And they called me, the kids, especially the girls, they would call me Mr. Waterhead, okay? And I'm gonna tell you what, it wasn't funny, Mr. Waterhead. I didn't know what it means. I thought, maybe I don't have a clue. Maybe I got a little bitty skinny body with a big old head. And I'm gonna tell you what, it was not funny, but that's the name they gave me. Hey, Waterhead, what are you doing? Waterhead, Waterhead, Waterhead. And that's not a really good thing to call a kid when he's small. He's got a complex. He just got through, the family having a divorce, but I guess everybody else in the neighborhood had a divorce because I didn't see too many dads around there. I saw a lot of poor kids and mostly African American. I think I was the only white person in the whole neighborhood, and it was kind of a little scary at first, but when you're a kid, you don't see color, and at least I didn't see color, and I still don't see color. But as a kid, I remember, being the only white boy in the whole neighborhood, and my little brother, he was so little. He was living in a little, he was hardly ever there, and he was at his babysitters and such, and they had money and stuff. So it was kind of strange. And, we was there for almost a year and a half. And I remember, we had these things called shoes, tennis shoes. And I remember getting me some tennis shoes. I was so proud of them things because you got you a brand new pair of tennis shoes. And they called them, what did they call those things? They used to call them popos, okay? Popo shoes. And I'm like, what do you mean, bobos and popos? That means they weren't styling shoes. Those weren't the ones that everybody thought were cool. I was wearing my bobos, but they made me feel good. I thought I could run fast. And when you're a kid, you don't know no better, but when you only got one pair of shoes for almost a year and a half, they start looking raggedy after a while, and they call them the bobos. And it was like I said, I wasn't feeling too good about myself as a kid. We used to wear these kind of pants called tough skins, and got me a little growing spurt, and I had the same pair of pants, for a couple of years, and maybe 3 or 4 years. And man, they started looking like high waters, and you go, what is that? They were pants that were too small for you, and they were above your socks, and you looked like, you were wearing high waters waiting for the rain to come. And it was kind of sad. It was kind of embarrassing, but that's what they called me. They called me Waterhead, Mr. Bobos, and they also said, you got some weird clothes. You look funny because you, Mr. Wearing those pants that are too short for you, too long for you, whatever. And I remember that, and it was kind of sad because, when you're a kid, you're kind of impressioned and you want to fit in and everything, and I didn't. I stood out like a sore thumb. I was as white as white, had old blonde hair and blue eyes, and everybody else had dark skin. But I tried real hard to make friends, and, on occasion I had some folks and kids that liked me and stuff. They kind of ignored me, but I got picked on a whole lot. Hey, Waterhead! And it wasn't the guys that did it was the girls. The girls were always calling me Waterhead and picking on me and stuff, and picking on me and all hitting on me and stuff. And I remember one particular day, I was with one of my friends, and they said, hey, you know how to box? And I said, I don't really know. So they put us out there and the little ring. They had a little ring there, and I did pretty good. Pop, pop, pop. I was winning. And the kids around there didn't like that too much. So the next thing I know, another one jumped in. I'm gonna fight him, and we started pop, and another one, and I was like, what the heck? And they ended up beating the crap out of me because I was I was a little bit different. I stood out. I was a white boy, and when you're a white boy living in the projects, you got to get what you give, and you got to learn how to deal with reality. It happens all the time, and vice versa with the whites and the blacks and the colors, and that's just the way life was. But it was kind of a weird time for me because during that time, being called a waterhead, my body was starting to grow. I had these short pants on, and I looked really ridiculous. But I remember looking into bodybuilding magazines. I found this one, and I said, "Wow, I'd love to look like that." And that was always my inspiration to try to get better and try to work out when I got a chance and stuff. So I started doing that as I got a little bit older. Now, I've been working out a little bit, but it took me back. I was thinking, what a waterhead, water boy, the waterhead, and it was kind of sad and it was kind of funny at the same time. But when you're a kid, I remember, boy, I was living there in that projects and being the only white person there. You had a lot of time on your hands, so I used to go down there to the basketball hoops and try to shoot some basketball. Well, I was terrible, plus I was real short. But we had these other kids. They had these marbles. Man, they were the marble kings. They were kicking butt and calling names. Boy, I used to say, man, I need to get me some marbles. And I remember for Christmas, I got me a nice big old bag of marbles. I was so proud of myself. But, I went down there to the other kids, and they had this thing called keeps. And that means if you lost your marbles. And oh, crap, guess what? I lost all my marbles. And it was so sad because all I wanted to do was just be all like the other kids and be happy. And I remember also they used to have this vehicle that used to come in with the ice cream. The ice cream man used to come, and we was kind of poor back then. We were real poor. Mama didn't have no money, and we didn't have food stamps, and we didn't have anything like that. So Mom was always working and making money, but she was trying to pay her way and figure out a way to get out of the projects, and she eventually did. But it was really tough times, and I used to see these kids eating all this ice cream and all this stuff, and I used to be real jealous. So, guys, I'm going to tell you what, when you're a little kid and you have to live in the project and you're the only white person in the whole neighborhood, you kind of stand out a little bit. You kind of feel weird. And it looks like I turned out to be a little weird. Okay. I just try to be a comedy person. I try to be funny. But when I lived in the project, it was kind of weird, man. It was kind of cool. I thought at first when I was there, I was different. I looked different. But after a while, some of the kids just treat me like every other thing. They used to have this little hill on the side of the road. We used to dig in it and play forts and stuff out there. And, I ended up getting me a couple of friends and stuff like that. And I remember back then that I remember watching the different shows, the Incredible Hulk. It was on TV, and I remember the music and stuff back then. It was just a lot of fun, a lot of different things. And yeah, not everything's always been great. One of the things I did get into was reading a lot. I remember studying that whole summer. I remember studying and reading book after book after book. So sometimes the things that you think are so bad for you end up maybe being some really positive things. Turned me into a person who always wanted to learn and be outside the box. And I remember just thinking to myself one day, I'm not going to live in this place, and I'm not going to be treated like that. And if I ever do, I'll never treat anybody unkindly. And you know what? As an adult and all through my life, I've never picked on people. That's one thing I learned, because when I was a kid, I got picked on a lot in the project. They called me Waterhead, you remember? Because I had a big old head and a little skinny body. And I'm going to tell you what, man, I remember the first time I ever smelled pot. You ever heard of pot? I remember being in the neighborhood, and I said to my mom, "What's that smell, Mom? I mean, I'm in the projects, I don't know anything." And I thought it might have been cigarettes, and these people were handing off these left cigarettes and stuff. And I'm watching these people, and they're just smiling and laughing and having a good old time, drinking their beers, out by the by the basketball courts. And this smell was pretty good. And I remember asking my mom, "What is that? Don't you worry about that. Don't you get out there and hang out and smoke hot. Don't you get into that." And you know what? Oops. Okay. And And I was a little kid. I saw a lot of things that I never thought I would see. Had a lot. Lived in an environment where there were very little fathers. It was mostly moms. We were all poor. We didn't have any money. None of us did. And then some had a little bit more than others. And sometimes some of the kids had nicer clothes. And some of the kids, everybody, believe it or not, we all got picked on at our own time. And I remember some of the kids taking up for me after a while. Once I started learning how to take care of myself, because I was the waterhead. I was the only white boy in the whole neighborhood, and I stood out like a sore thumb. So listen, guys, if you're going through traumatic situations, you're having problems, if you're living in an environment where it's not always perfect, you can persevere, okay? Even the waterhead can become a great salesperson. Even a waterhead or somebody who's had an upbringing through a divorce and so forth can get to the next level, go to school, get the education, get some college, get some certifications. So just remember, just because you come from a place that ain't always cool, and they may call you the waterhead, doesn't mean that you can't be awesome. All right, guys, we just had a weird conversation with myself talking about living in the project, getting picked on. And I remember eating a lot of jelly sandwiches when I was a kid. I remember a whole lot of times we'd have eggs and bacon, and we would put jelly on it, and it was a good sandwich. Back then, it was pretty cheap. And also, we used to eat a whole lot of chicken and noodle soup, and I thought we was living like kings. We were poor. We really, really were. But I thank God we had a nice, clean place, because my mama, she's always been super clean, and our place was always nice. I just thought I'd share that with you, because everybody comes from somewhere weird, and some people come from places that ain't always great. And just remember, I'm the white boy that lived in the projects, and they call me Waterhead, okay? Oh.